Good morning, friends. How are you? UFC 229 is upon us, and we have two of the more fascinating characters in mixed martial arts in the main event. Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. What a fight. I wanted to weigh in on a couple of aspects that probably aren't spoken about in these terms quite as much, and I feel like I'm in a decent position to do so. I've been commentating on Conor's fight since 2010. I've produced or been part of the production team on a number of features where I've gone and seen him in training, and obviously I've been studying Khabib in this sport for a long time now. So I want to talk about flow state, I want to talk about mental warfare, and give you some reference points for which you can go away and check this out. Let's talk about Conor and focus on him, because I think that I probably know a little bit more about Conor than I do Khabib, given the history and my location in the world compared to Khabib. One of Conor's strong suits, ignore everything else, is his mental game. It is absolutely phenomenal, and it just gets better and better and better. Just when I thought it couldn't get any more clear how good he was at this, he went and embarked on one of the biggest fights of all time against Floyd Mayweather. So just to cut through a lot of this stuff, what I'm getting at is Conor McGregor was able to partake in that fight with all of the cameras, all of the lights, all of the pressure, the world tour, and yet he went into that boxing ring, did what he did regardless of the result, and just after that fight he was able to recount exactly what he did in rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through for as long as the fight lasted. He was giving us snippets of what he did and didn't do in that fight. That fascinates me, and that just goes to show his presence of mind. I challenge any of you to tell me what you did in your workday from when you got in all the way through. Some of you might be able to do it. I was fascinated to hear in such a short space of time after the fight, like minutes after the fight really, Conor was able to tell you what he did and didn't do and perhaps why he lost the fight. That shows an unbelievable presence of mind. Now, if you go and look at the work of George Mumford, the Mindful Athletes, we hear about meditation and things like that, and those that have listened to other podcasts from me, I will reference my mindfulness practice. You don't have to just sit in a room with your legs crossed and your fingers together and kind of hum and say mantras and things like that. You can be mindful in many different ways, from just having a mindful walk to mindfully brushing your teeth or eating food. Conor's ability to be mindful in those moments, to completely silence the externalities, is fascinating. With all of that pressure, he's able to just cut it out and focus and then have complete recall over those matters, and I think that is such a powerful tool for him. It shows to me just how focused and dialed in he is. So with all of this pressure, he is clearly able to silence it, and we all know that you need the presence of mind at the very top of any game. To be able to have absolute focus and concentration is going to help you be successful. So he has that. He's had that against Mayweather. Who else do we know in our sport of mixed martial arts that is able to do that? Who is fighting in as big fights as Conor is? I guess that the only other people are going to be DC and John Jones, perhaps. The level of attention that those athletes bring, they're the only ones who rival it, so they're the only ones that we can really compare to. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying that Khabib isn't a mindful athlete. I am just saying that I know Conor better, and we have better examples of him fighting in huge fights, so it's even more illuminating, if you like. Let's talk a little bit about flow state now. I urge you to go and check out the work of Steven Kotler. Flow state isn't as simple as someone getting into a relaxed flow. Flow state is about a chemical reaction, or a combination of chemical reactions in the body that allow your mind and body to have this symbiotic relationship where everything that you do comes together. The example that Steven Kotler uses in his book is like a combined flow state between the guys on the Red Bull teams who are all kind of free jumping off of buildings, and they follow one another. If one of them makes an error of half a second, then it could mean the death of another. So flow state can be a very serious thing, and in order to get into flow state, you've got to have that presence of mind. You've got to be able to silence everything and completely focus. Conor is able to do that. He is able to get into flow state very, very quickly, like we saw against Jose Aldo. The advantage for Conor in getting into flow state quickly and being effective is he is a striker. An MMA fight starts standing up. So his flow state is very much biased towards being able to throw his combinations, his power, his hands, his kicks, whatever it might be, his movement patterns. Khabib, in order to really get into his kind of flow state, he needs to get into the grappling ranges. Well, you need to get past Conor's striking in order to get into those grappling exchanges. So will Khabib be able to achieve his flow state as quickly as Conor? I don't think so. I believe that Conor will be able to find his flow state quicker. That is, of course, dependent on whether he is able to be mindful, present, and cut everything out. That goes for both of these athletes. Let's talk about the press conference, because that's been the only recent example of when these two fighters have gone head to head. In order for Conor to really take advantage of mental warfare, he needed to get in front of Khabib. Yes, he's got a very, very powerful social media presence, but there is nothing better than going nose to nose with someone, seeing, feeling their reactions. He's only had one opportunity to do that. I'm not sure whether that is by design or his own design. For me, compared to the Aldo situation, compared to the Eddie Alvarez situation, there's just been fewer opportunities. Although I have learned that there is a press conference closer to the fights where they will once again go head to head. I like the levels of this as well in terms of who these fighters are fighting for. Conor is fighting for the Irish people. He's fighting for the love of martial arts, combat sports, a good knock. Khabib is fighting for the Dagestan Republic, his Russian people, people of Muslim faith. He has a huge, huge following. It's deeply religious. It's ingrained in culture. He is from people with a fighting tradition, much as Conor is, but the Dagestani people have, in this generation, seen some stuff that I will never understand as someone from the UK. I think it's difficult for anyone to really understand what they've been through, what they survived. So he has a lot of motivation. I'm not sure that words from Conor will really get him on tilt, but Conor has this fascinating ability of being able to press all the right buttons. So in summary, we all know that the mental side of this game is very, very important. If you have a mental block in just a second, it will cost you the fight. So just as the physical aspects of this are fascinating, a striker versus a grappler, the long range versus the short range, all 5 rounds, the amount of energy expenditure, all of this stuff, everything goes back to the quality of someone's mental position. And I don't think there is anyone else in combat sports right now, and he's certainly one of the best to ever have done it in terms of mastering the mental side of the game. Of course, Conor. It is unbelievable what he has achieved in the short time that he's been around. It's quite remarkable how he's able to silence everything and get his work done the way that he does. So it's absolutely imperative that both of these fine athletes are able to come in with the very best mental preparation, that quiet mind, so that they can get their work done. This conversation is just as important as who wins the striking battle, who wins the grappling exchanges. I find this stuff fascinating. I urge you to learn more about it for future matchups where this kind of thing is ever present. I urge you to learn more about flow states and mindfulness so that you can apply it to all combat sports, because I don't think there really is a better application than when two people go head to head and fight one another and that mental fortitude is so important. I can't wait for this fight. It's going to be awesome. Thank you for checking this out. Hopefully it's a little bit different to some of the other analysis that you're getting out there. Subscribe, like, more videos coming your way soon.